Disruptors, I want to introduce you to Colin Campbell. He is a #1 Amazon best-selling author of the book called Start, Scale, Exit. There it is, and Repeat. He is the founder of Startup Club with 1 million members. And he's also the founder of paw.com. So Colin, you've got a different philosophy towards business. We can unpack that. I want to welcome you to the closethedeal.com podcast. Where are you based out, Colin?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I have spent 25 years of my life running about 20 companies. We have about 13 or 14 successful exits, and 10 years writing this book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. But you might not know this. My very first business was a franchise.
Uh-huh.
I can spin a nice pizza.
There you go.
Let me tell you, we were a pizza franchise up in Toronto, Canada, and it was called Pizza Nova.
Uh-huh.
And what I learned from that experience is phenomenal.
Okay.
And we've been able to apply a lot of the systems and understandings behind that into all the future companies that we launched over the last 25 years. It's been a phenomenal ride.
All right. Well, we're going to come back to that because you just discovered that I'm a franchise consultant, which is why I think you're bringing that up. But I want to start with this question.
I am bringing it up for that reason, but I'm also bringing it up because that was the beginning of my journey.
Yes, I know. And I want to unpack this. I want to ask you a question. Where do you take somebody to dinner to close the deal and you're based in Fort Lauderdale where do you, is it breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Where is that location you take?
Okay, it's always dinner.
Okay.
There's a place called Takata.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's very cool. It's in I think it's in the W Hotel or one of the hotels right on the beach in Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of a Japanese American fusion, sort of Korean fusion, Japanese Korean. And like literally they'll bring out these rocks and you can place the little piece of beef and the beef cooks on the rock. It's an experience. So when I go to dinner with one of my clients or we're trying to close a deal, we're always thinking about let's create a memorable event, a lifetime event that's something that they'll always remember. And that restaurant does it, Takata.
There you go. All right. And I appreciate that because coming from New Orleans, it's always about the experience. Food is everything for us. And you I need to come to Fort Lauderdale now. All right.
I'll take you out.
Sounds good. I'm going to take you up. All right. Next question. Who or what are you grateful for that helped you get you where you are today?
I think that's really a combination of questions. My father was an ordained minister. He ran an advertising company. He died when I was 14 years old. And so he's the basis of my integrity. I learned a lot from him. Integrity over money. Everything I've done in life has always been about that. And then my mother was a farmer and we owned farms and I grew up farming my whole life. And I learned how freaking hard it is farming. It's a really tough thing to do. So the one thing my father did in 1977 was that he got us a 4K Sinclair computer. I was 7 years old. And my older brother began to code on it. And ever since then, I've been in love with technology all the way.
Wow. That's awesome. And that set the stage for everything.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. Now we're going to circle back to your book. And the beginnings of your book started with technology, which you just talked about, which does tie to franchising because that's how franchising scales these days. And then in your book, and all these things have come together, all these decades of experience, all these companies you've run and owned. Let's dive in. Where would you like to begin with the book?
Well, let me go back to an early story. Okay.
Love it.
So I was 16 years old and my older brother, he's like 19, 20. And we got involved with this gentleman who was running a fish and chip shop. Fish and chips, like, it's Canadian, like, it's like, and he did halibut and chips and he did to this day, I don't think I've ever had better fish and chips. And it was literally our 2 doors down from our current house. And we got to know the owner and my brother bought a restaurant off of him. Friends of mine bought restaurants off of him, and I had the opportunity to talk to him about what he was doing. And he said, my business is not a fish and chip shop. My business is getting the right location. How important is location? Getting the right location, having the right formula, and then selling the fish and chip shop. That's his business, not running it. And I thought that was fascinating. And I think that was one of the most impressionable things on me. And then going into a franchise and understanding that there really are a lot of systems. I had the opportunity to meet Michael Bregman, who had done a number of franchises up in Canada, and very successful, hundreds of millions of dollars he made doing his cafe. It was like it's been a long time now, but it's like a Starbucks up in Canada. It's called Second Cup. Second Cup was the name of the franchise. And I had the opportunity to meet him, and he talked a lot about this concept or this idea that you can build something and make it successful and then document it and then replicate it. Now, again, I think the best way to start as an entrepreneur is to get into a franchise. Just get your feet wet. We don't know what we're doing. I didn't know what I was doing when I was younger. But one thing I did do is I learned how to make pizzas. And I learned how to clean frickin' fryers. And I learned how to do what it takes to do it right. And I learned some marketing and I learned some other things. And, but I don't think I think it was almost like for me, my first experience with the franchise it was almost like education. Like instead of paying for an education, invest a little bit of money in a franchise and then use that franchise to educate you so that you can then use that as a springboard to launch your future companies. Because it was great training for me.
I love that. And it's the systems and processes. Because when you're trying to figure it out on your own, it's tough. There's so many little nuanced things people don't even begin to think about. But when they're given that plan, that playbook, it sets them up for success. Well, greater chance of success for sure.
Absolutely. And, in the book, we talk about start, scale, exit, repeat. And under each section, there's 4 more sections: story, people, money, and systems. And when you're in a franchise, pretty much your story's been worked out for you. So you don't have to worry about that component. But your people have not been. You have to figure out how to hire the right type of people. And one of the things I often encourage entrepreneurs to do is think about the positions in the company and develop a profile, a personality profile, and then a skills profile. I always say you can never change someone's personality, but you can always improve their skills. So we're going to ask you to come up with a personality profile for the position that you're going to hire for. Okay, so we need someone who's in operations. Okay. And we need the person to be very fastidious. Okay, so on the DISC profile, DISC, similar to Myers-Briggs, we're going to want somebody who probably is an IS, somebody who's social, who can connect with others, but somebody who's also a little bit OCD. All right, so we're always going to be wanting to look for that profile. And then we talk about money. It's all about what's the most efficient way to raise money. You do really well in business for 2 things. 1, you buy right, you leverage well. Buy right, leverage well. Those are 2 biggest things. We have 27 properties in Fort Lauderdale and the other North Captiva in our business. And one thing we always did was buy right and leverage well. Now it's a difficult market to leverage well. It's very difficult. So we're doing a lot more short-term, 1 or 2 year loans, just to see if we can't get over the hump and then position ourselves for lower interest down the future. Last thing is systems. Okay. Now, when you're in a franchise, they're going to lay all those systems out for you. When you're a franchisor, you're going to want to build and design those systems. But I would encourage all your franchise owners to think about implementing a few extra ideas, a few extra systems. One of them is goal setting. Setting very clear goals for your company and for everyone in your company. And those companies that do this have they increase their success dramatically. And so we're talking about, I use a company called Rhythm Systems. There's other companies out there, EOS and Vern Harnish. There's a lot of different system companies out there. But put all that aside, you can get the book and just read the book. But putting up basic goals for your company for the year, for the quarter, and for the individually for the quarter, the top 3 to 5 goals for my manager. We want to hit a 7.8% review rating, whatever it is.
Mhm.
We're going to want to lay out those goals, and we're going to want to track those goals, because that's absolutely critical. And that might not be part of our franchise, but if we want to excel and we want to focus on excellence, then having a goal setting platform in place, or at least the concept of goals, is important. The second thing I would think about is coaching. And I'm not talking about going and spending $60,000 a year for coaching. Sure, if you have 10 franchises, it's about time. It's a great ROI. And I did that, by the way. I've had a coach now for 20 years.
Mhm.
Why does a guy who needs to write a best-selling book need a coach? Come on. Why do you think you need them at the Olympics?
Mhm.
Why do you think the top athletes need them? Yes, but let me tell you something else. There's an organization in the United States called the SCORE, which is run by the SBA. Have you heard of that one?
Absolutely. Let me ease in here for 1 second. Colin came into the show touting the benefits of franchising right out the gate, which I love naturally. But let me ask you a question. How do you know if franchising is even right for you? How do you know if entrepreneurship is right for you? And where do you fit on the scale of franchising and the different layers of where a franchise system is? There's a right place for you. How do you know where you fit? That's my question for you. I'd like to do something for you. I want to provide you with a free assessment. It's called Your First Franchise Assessment, and it's going to help give you clarity and help you make smarter decisions should you go down that route. To get a free assessment, visit yourfirstfranchise.com, hit the contact us button, and put in there, I'd like to take the free assessment. Yourfirstfranchise.com, hit the contact us button, and let me know you'd like to take the free assessment, and I'll send it to you, and you'll see where you stand. Now, let's get back to the show.
I had the chance to interview Bridget a few weeks ago. She's the CEO of SCORE, and they make the claim that you will increase your chances of success by 3 times. And guess what? It's absolutely free.
That's a lot.
Why would you not get a mentor for free from SCORE?
Yeah.
And I think that, if you think about goal setting, mentorship, and understanding the systems that you need to implement with your franchise, I think if you take those 3 things together, your chances of succeeding increase dramatically. And then we're going to want to scale it. And then we're going to want to exit. And we can talk about that in a minute.
Well, when you exit a franchise, you're going to sell it with 1.5 times higher than you would otherwise if it was a traditional business. So this the whole premise of franchising has so many benefits, and you just scratch the surface. And I keep going back to the systems and processes, because that's what I found trying to go into business a few years back. It was challenging just to know where to begin. And that's after me working and consulting with entrepreneurs for 17 years as a trade association executive, representing them and helping them grow their businesses. It's different though when you leave corporate life and go out on your own. Completely different. And to have that coach, have the coach in there, the community are wrapped around you is invaluable, and having those mentors is invaluable. And obviously you've got some scars throughout this process too. Some challenges you've overcome that I feel like I'm hearing behind these words you're talking.
Yeah, so I've got a number of scars, and let me talk to you about paw.com a little bit.
Yeah.
3 years in a row, Inc. 5,000, fastest growing company in America. Pretty phenomenal results, doing very well. And we started making some mistakes, and I'm not the CEO. We have people who run the companies, but it all came down to this: test and fail more, scale winners quickly, cut losers fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We had 100-year supply of shampoo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have made our failures, but what we learned in e-commerce is that be different, be unique and different. And by the way, if you're in a franchise or if you're thinking about going into a franchise, you're going to want to think about what's that unique difference that franchise has. What compelling offer do they make or give? What problem do they solve that none of the other franchises do? Okay. You're going to want to think about it from that perspective, because the reality is when we've been different, we succeed.
Yep.
At PAW. When we're the same and we try to copy, if we're just another Subway sandwich or whatever, a submarine, or we're just another pizza, or we're just another whatever it is, and you're not different or unique, what's your X factor? And every company needs to find their X factor, something that makes them unique and different, that solves a bottleneck. So if you're thinking about picking a franchise, you're going to want to think in terms of that. Okay, so is this franchise really different from Domino's? Oh, they have pizza delivery through a truck that gets I'm just making this up right now, right? But there's a company in Texas called Cookie Delivery, and they deliver the cookies. They had a problem. They're a bakery, and like every other bakery, by the time the cookies got to the customer, they were cold. And so they changed the model and they delivered the cookies through a truck that cooked the cookies on the way to the customer. That's the X factor.
Yep.
Whether you have it yourself or whether it's part of your franchise, that's something you're going to want to ask the question. If I'm going to invest in a franchise, what is the X factor that this franchise has? Domino's Pizza, 30 minutes or free. That's probably one of the biggest X factors in history, right? They actually redefined the production of pizza and delivered it in 30 minutes or free. And then they came out with a nearly unbearable brand promise, the 30 minutes or free. So their X factor was very fast pizza delivery. I'm not talking about quality. I'm just talking about what their X factor was. We're not going to debate the quality. Fast pizza, nearly unbearable promise, 30 minutes or free. What is your franchise's X factor and nearly unbearable promise?
What is the X factor for paw.com?
The X factor for paw.com is developing and designing products that no one has ever seen before. We have invented the memory foam rug. So we are the number one provider in the world for memory foam dog bed rugs. We're number one in the world for waterproof blankets. They're protectors for your couch, your car. We're number one in the world for car seat, backseat car seats that have 1, 2, and 3. We invented 2 and 3. One was out before we came along. See, sometimes you can be a little bit different. You don't always have to be 100% different. You can add on to it or build it or design it. We came out with the first cooling bed in the world for dogs that uses a particular type of material, gel, and other things. And we're now working on other products. When we are different, when we focus on solving a problem and we're unique, we win. When we copy, we end up with a 100-year supply of shampoo. By the way, we did liquidate it all for 6 cents on the dollar. So don't worry. I'm not talking about shampoo anymore.
I think about the differentiating thing piece all the time. That is the X factor without question. Your book, going back to your book for a second, you just received you have some announcements, I believe, regarding this book.
So the announcement is that we got this yesterday, that we are a finalist for the Benjamin Franklin Book Awards. They picked 3 finalists, 100 applicants for the business and careers category, and we're one of 3 applicants that have been chosen as a finalist. And I find out whether or not we win gold in about 3 weeks from now. So we'll see what happens. The reality is, people are looking at this book. They're reading this book. It's been number 1 bestseller on Amazon in 13 categories. And let me just tell you a little bit about this journey, okay? It took 10 years, 10 years to write this book. We interviewed over 200 people for this book, of which 50 are actually in the book. People like Jeffrey Moore, who wrote Crossing the Chasm, Inside the Tornado. People like Joe Foster, who founded Reebok. I've gotten to know Joe Foster so well over the last 2 years. We've become very good friends. I put on his 88th birthday party here in Fort Lauderdale, and he's coming next week. We're going to see him next week here, and he's staying at one of my Airbnbs. But the reality is, he had a lot of insight into understanding that. His concept was, that's a quick story, but 1979, $9 million in sales, 19 years in business, 4 years later, $900 million in sales.
Holy cow.
How did he do it? He got 5-star reviews. Oh my gosh. How important are reviews in any business, by the way? In any franchise, any business, how important are reviews? Absolutely critical, whether it's any franchise or an Airbnb. He got 3 5-star reviews in Runner's World. He got a distribution deal through that review. And then Jane Fonda wore his shoes on national television because he went into the white space. He developed a niche building running shoes for something called aerobics. He was the first company to do it.
Yep. I remember when this came out.
Bam.
I was in high school.
Bam. That's it, right? Reviews, influencers. By the way, I asked Joe Foster, I said, how much did you pay Jane Fonda to wear the shoes? She goes, I didn't pay her. She bought her own shoes on her own. She bought the shoes on her own. So that's the beginning of influencers. And after that, you've seen running shoe companies with Shaquille O'Neal and all this stuff. And it's just phenomenal to see what's old again is new again, and to really understand. And he's, we talk a lot about him in the book, and a lot of different stories in the book. It's a compilation of stories. Look, we wrote this book for the ADHD entrepreneur. 57 chapters, 200 call-outs, 30 illustrations. There's a reason why it's been a finalist now in the Benjamin Franklin Award, because we really did spend a lot of work, and it's a team of 6 full-time individuals the last 2 years who helped get that book out.
Well, congratulations on the book. Continue.
Thank you.
There. Final piece of guidance for someone who's considering going into their own business. From your perspective, you've already shared a lot of insights, but want to hear that last piece.
You know what? I'm playing into you a little bit here, but it's what I did. Start with a franchise. Just like, you don't have all the answers. You don't know what you're doing. Look, you got a college degree. That's great. I got a college degree too. I still started with a franchise. I learned a lot by doing that. And after that, I'm like, oh, if I could do that and succeed at that franchise, then I could become a franchisor. I can now take it to the next level. And so I actually think that's probably one of the safest and most successful paths for all future entrepreneurs is to do that.
And I need to qualify this conversation. You and I did not know each other prior to this.
No.
You did not know I was a franchise consultant prior to this. You just knew I had CloseTheDeal.com podcast interviewing entrepreneurs and franchisors, but that was it. So I appreciate your insights because they speak to my heart and soul for what I do for a living, helping guide others considering going into a franchise. Your call to action, what is that?
And then let me also add, though, that second to doing a franchise is learn. Get a mentor, get into an incubator, get into a community, connect with others. It takes a village to raise a startup.
It does.
It really does. And that's so important. You're not alone. This is not the time when you need to go into the garage like Steve Jobs did with with Apple. You need to connect with others, and there's a lot of support around you and in the community to do that. And second to that is learning.
Yes.
Learn. This is not a get rich quick book.
Yeah.
In fact, I even say that, and I also talk about, not every company has to be a unicorn.
Mhm.
You can create great wealth and a great life, but you don't have to make $1 billion. And you don't have to risk everything with venture capitalists and give big portions of your company away. Hold on to as much as you can for as long as you can. That's very important. And then learn it very well. And when you know it, scale it. Go from 1 franchise to 10. Go from 10 to 100.
Mhm.
That's what we're talking about here. Start, scale, exit, repeat, and then start selling them.
Mhm.
Take some money off the table and then repeat.
I love it.
And the call to action is go to Amazon.com. #1 bestseller on Amazon. We've got Audible, we got ebook, we got hard copy. And by the way, the hard copy book, it's very physical. It's big. It's color coded. I told you, it is really a piece of art. It makes reading a book fun again. It really does. But we also have the soft cover coming out as well next month. So you can grab that. Either way, grab it. It's worth the read.
Colin, I want to thank you. This has been awesome having you on the show. I appreciate it. And folks, check out his book, brand new book on Amazon, Start, Scale, Exit, and Repeat. Thank you. Thank you, Colin. And that is a wrap with Colin. I love his energy and I love his philosophy, no doubt. And to start, scale, exit, and repeat. A lot of people thinking about start and scale, and they're thinking about exiting. He's already talking about repeating in the title of the book. Make sure you go to Amazon today and get a copy. And I want to thank you for making it this far through the video. Appreciate you being here. Click, like, subscribe, all those things. I appreciate that. We're growing this community. We're going to keep bringing in great guests for you, and you are a part of this journey. So I appreciate you being here. And you know the drill. Be intentional and make today a great day. Bye-bye.